Welcome to EDST618 Contemporary Learning 1 Teaching with Technology. My name is Adam Staples and I am your lecturer for this coming semester. So the purpose of this video is to obviously introduce you to the unit, to welcome you to the unit, and to step you through the way the unit appears on Leo, which is the online learning management system we use here at ACU. So it's a short video and I'm going to take you through the unit now. And I'd like you to obviously watch the video. I'd like you to think about some of the things that I have suggested and put forward, and then start familiarizing yourself with the layout of the Leo unit. So when you log into the home page, you'll see a screen that looks like this. We have the header with the name of the unit. Then you'll see a number of what are called sections or tiles. I'll refer to them as sections throughout the semester. In the middle of the screen, you've got your unit information, communication, assessment, a unit roadmap which steps you through the structure of the unit overall, and then Module 1, Week 1. As the semester picks up a bit of speed and as you become more familiar with the space, obviously more of those modules will open up. At the moment, I didn't want to have all 4 modules open at one go because I didn't want to overwhelm you with what might appear as being a lot of content, and instead just wanted to give you, sort of a concise introduction. If you haven't used Leo before, on the left-hand side you've got a navigation menu, which is another way of accessing all of the same information. So what I'd like you to do first of all is click onto the unit information section. And when this opens up, you'll see there's the welcome video that you're watching at the moment. Then you have the unit outline. As I've said here, we in the postgraduate programs, we provide the generic unit outline. So that is the bare bones on which every unit is based. And that is the document that is signed off and approved by academic board. And it's called the GUO, or the generic unit outline. There is then the EUO, which is the extended unit outline, which is the unit outline for the current iteration of any unit. At this particular moment in time, the EUO for EDST618 is awaiting approval, which I hope to have by the end of today, so the end of Monday, and that will then go up. So you'll see at the moment that there's a generic unit outline, and then there will be the actual extended unit outline with more of the specifics. A little bit of information about myself and acknowledgements for previous lecturers who have taken this unit. You can navigate to the remaining sections using what's called the bread line at the top of the page, or if you were to click on home again, it takes you back to this page that you're familiar with. In the communication section, we have a couple of forums, and these are going to be used extensively throughout the semester, and they are the point of communication with me and with you and between each other. So if you have a question or query about the unit that is not of a personal nature and you're happy for your peers to read it, please post it into questions and queries for Adam. I will then respond to it. If I have something important that I'd like the whole cohort to be aware of, I'll post it into important messages from Adam. In the assessment section, we have got a short description of each assessment task. And obviously when the EUO is uploaded later on today, it'll be, those will be extended upon, there'll be more information, but the assessment tasks do not change. So assessment number 1 is a pedagogical framework analysis, and assessment 2 is a research proposal report. We've also got the drop boxes, so both of them are running through Turnitin at the moment. I might change the second one just to be a non-Turnitin Dropbox, because it's a digital story that you're developing, and sometimes online submissions, so if you've developed something in the online space, it doesn't necessarily work that well with Turnitin, but I will clarify that at a later date. The next available section is the unit roadmap, and In here I've actually just given you a little bit of information about each module and then some remarks on expectations at the bottom. You'll notice here that you've got these colored sections, and this is really beginning to show you how I set up my online unit. So at the start of each module there will be these steps through, recommended steps through the module, so a way for you to begin engaging with the content and what you need to do in order to maximize the content and the learning in that particular module. So Module 1, Module 2, Module 3, and Module 4. So we start off looking at the histories of digital technologies in education, so setting the scene, and you'll actually, when you see the content, you'll notice that there are actually technologies rather, and not only digital technology. So I really want us to think about how these technologies have been tools in our learning. We then examine some theories, policy, and frameworks. And really Module 1 and Module 2 underpin the development of assignment number 1. So at the end of Module 2, which is going to be week 6, that is when your first major assignment task is due. In Module 3, we look at some contemporary learning and digital technology sort of areas of interest. In particular, we're going to be looking at leadership, implementation and evaluation, and culturally responsive approaches to digital technologies in learning. There are, of course, many different subject areas within this particular field that we could examine, but those three are really important, and those three help you to meet the learning outcomes of the unit. In Module 4, we examine some of the emerging trends in digital technologies and how those interlink with curriculum considerations, especially with the ever-moving Australian curriculum, and how technology and how digital technologies are actually perceived and understood. It seems to be quite a dynamic space, that one. And at the end of Module 4 in week 12, that is when you bring assignment number 2, which is your second and your last major assignment task, to completion. In the section that's called Some Remarks on Expectations, I briefly go into activities. So you'll see at the end of each module, so sometimes that's going to be on a weekly basis, sometimes it will cover a couple of weeks. There are some tasks called activities, and you are really encouraged to engage in them, and I'll show you what they look like in a moment. The activities are really the substitute for a face-to-face workshop. So in the online environment, we don't have those workshops, and so the onus is on us as learners to really engage in self-direction to ensure that we are examining all of the content and really deepening our thinking about that content in order to be able to meet the learning outcomes and in order to pass the assessment tasks satisfactorily. So whilst these activities don't carry any weighting, so in themselves they are not an assessment task, I really do encourage you to engage with them regularly, and sort of an outcome of that, not really a byproduct, it is the product of engaging in this, is that the community of practice within EDST618 will really begin to develop, and that's when the unit finds its own pace. And we'll talk a little bit more of that when we examine Module 2, because communities of practice are incredibly important. I'm sure many of you have heard of them before. Then we come on to Module 1, Week 1. So Module 1 goes over Week 1 and Week 2. I'm going to keep Week 1 open only at the moment, and at the beginning of the semester, so on the 26th or 27th of February, can't remember the exact date, I will open up Module 1, Week 2 for you as well. As with the roadmap section, there are some guidelines for you to follow in order to get going with this particular module. And those don't really change throughout the semester, but I find experiences in other online units that I've delivered that students find them really helpful. We then have the reading, so every week within a module, so For instance, Module 1 has got a separate section for week 1 and week 2, and it may be that a module sort of collapses all the weeks into one, depending on how much content there is. But the overall structure will always be the same. So you'll have the guidelines at the start, then you'll have the readings for that particular module, and all of the readings are accessible by through the module itself, so you don't need to go and search for them yourself. Then we have resources which apply to sort of a happy passage through that particular module. Then we have discussion forums, so that sometimes there's one discussion forum, sometimes there's a couple of discussion forums. But really the key to engaging with the module effectively is this section under eTivity. So the eTivity at the top with the icon with a little tick in it, when you click on that, it takes you to what is called a quiz. Now the quiz doesn't have any value attached to it, so don't be misled by that. This is just a particular function on Leo that I use in order to sort of streamline these kind of tasks. And you'll see as you go through those, it's a series of questions and tasks, and you're then prompted to answer, have you completed this task? It's either yes or no. I must reiterate, there's no weighting in the unit attached to this. So if you didn't do them, you're not going to lose any marks. But if you do them, you're most definitely going to increase your chances of developing a much more succinct and meaningful assessment number 1 and assessment number 2. So when you're in the module and you're having a look at the bottom of the eTivities, the icon with the tick is the actual sort of the function on Leo that allows you to tick things and keep yourself sort of motivated and in order. But underneath that, you've got a PDF version of the task. So when you click on that, it opens up a PDF of the questions, and you can actually print it off or file it away and work through it at your leisure. You will also notice down the right-hand side of all of these activities and resources in the module, there's a little checkbox, and this is used. You can use it to make sure that you're on task. So once you've done something, you can actually click in it in a little box, and it'll give you a little tick, and that shows you that you've completed that task. So it's just a way of managing the Leo real estate space. Part of this is to, we're looking at digital technologies as tools and how they might possibly be used or misused. And so a really good starting point for us is actually going to be Leo itself, and learning how to make Leo work for us and to enhance our learning rather than it becoming sort of a dictatorial space. As you move through the unit, you will realize that each module, whether it's set up weekly or over a couple of weeks, is set up in the same way. So you'll always have those guidelines, readings, resources, discussion forums, and an eTivity. So I look forward to working with you. I hope you found this introduction, this welcome, helpful. Any questions, please click on the communication tab and add it to the questions and queries for Adam. The semester starts properly on the 26th of February. So between now and then, that's a familiarization time. And once everybody's logged on, I will then set up a number of Zoom meetings, so we'll be able to come together online, probably in the evening, to meet to suit people's timetables and family commitments, where we can discuss the content and ask questions and things like that. So I look forward to working with you over the next 12 weeks. And as I said, please feel free to ask any questions. Okay.